Our next stop was Rome, the capital city of Italy and one of the most historic places in the world. Located in central Italy along the Tiber River, Rome has been a major cultural, political, and religious center for over 2,000 years. We took the high-speed train from Naples to Rome, which covers about 140 miles in just under an hour. You know it's fast, but when another train flies past in the opposite direction, you actually feel it. 8 cars, gone in a blink, just a blur of motion, and you realize how insanely fast you're actually moving. Rome is definitely an expensive city, so to help with the budget, we chose to stay a little outside the main tourist center in Garbatella. We still had great access to buses to get around, but this location gave us a much larger, more comfortable apartment than we could have afforded right in the heart of the city. The real highlight for us is this beautiful balcony with amazing views, the perfect spot to relax and soak in the Roman sunset after a full day of exploring. The next day we had a walking tour planned in Rome, but the weather had other ideas. We made it as far as our first bus stop and were already wet and cold, which felt like a pretty clear sign. So we called it. The beauty of traveling a little slower is there's no pressure to push through miserable weather. We can just reschedule for another day. The next morning dawned crisp and clear, so we hopped a bus and made our way to the Vatican City for our tour. It's pretty much a must-see when you're in Rome, so of course, no shortage of people. Because it gets so crowded, and since no photos are allowed inside the Sistine Chapel, the tour actually starts outside with a guide walking you through everything using an interactive display. Ours gave us some really interesting insight into the murals, pointing out how many of the biblical scenes are set with Renaissance-era Italian architecture and even contemporary fashion of the time, making them feel more relatable to people back then. And then there's the ceiling, somehow even more impressive when you understand it a bit more. Michelangelo painted it largely by himself in just 4 years, which feels almost impossible when you consider the scale and detail. It definitely made stepping inside even more surreal. We stepped outside and got our first glimpse of St. Peter's Basilica, and it's kind of wild to think you've just crossed into an entirely different country without even realizing it. We made our way inside the Vatican museums, and it's just a non-stop parade of incredible art and architecture. You move through these massive halls with ceilings so intricately painted it's hard to know where to look, every inch covered in detail, color, and gold. Then you enter the round room, modeled after the Pantheon, with this enormous ancient basin in the center and stunning mosaic floors beneath your feet that feel like works of art on their own. Along the way, you'll notice a surprising number of Egyptian statues and artifacts. That's because Rome and later the Vatican collected pieces from Egypt after it became a part of the Roman Empire, and there was a real fascination with Egyptian culture and symbolism that carried through the centuries. As you wander through this opulence, it's kind of wild to think that for so long, these collections were essentially private, built up by popes over the centuries, and only formally opened to the public in the late 18th century. We passed through the Hall of Tapestries with these massive woven scenes that almost look three-dimensional, and then into one of my favorite spaces, the Gallery of Maps, where detailed painted maps of Italy stretch along the walls in vivid color. You pass through room after room filled with Renaissance masterpieces. The walls are covered in vibrant frescoes telling stories of religion, philosophy, and power, while the ceilings are just as detailed, packed with color, symmetry, and symbolism. Each room feels more elaborate than the last. Room after room, the paintings just keep coming until you reach the Raphael rooms, including the School of Athens, one of the most famous works in the world. In this one, Plato and Aristotle are featured prominently in the painting, but Raphael also painted himself into the scene, while Michelangelo is believed to be depicted riding in the foreground, adding a clever Renaissance twist to the gathering of ancient minds. The museum houses many other important works, including The Thinker, sculpted by Rodin, and this striking painting by Vincent van Gogh. We paused to take in the impressive 3D model of Vatican City before making our way down the famous spiral staircase, a beautiful double helix design that winds gracefully downward as the final step of our tour. We were ready to find some lunch, and luckily we were not disappointed by a recommended spot just nearby. We went for 2 Roman classics, cacio e pepe and carbonara. Both were excellent, simple, but so rich in flavor, exactly what you want after a long morning of exploring. We wandered our way toward the city center of Rome, and it really felt like every few steps brought something new: dramatic sculptures around fountains and lining rivers, ancient ruins tucked between modern streets, and layers of history built right into the architecture. It's the kind of place where you're constantly looking up, slowing down, and getting distracted in the best way. That afternoon, we headed to Piazza Venezia to join the free walking tour we had been rained out of the day before. Though technically free, a tip of around 10 to 20 euros per person is a standard way to support the guide. The monument here was completed less than 100 years ago, which, by Italian standards, is just a baby. From there, we walked over to Trajan's Column, an incredibly well-preserved ancient monument that dates back to around 113 AD. The column is covered in a continuous spiral relief that tells the detailed story of Emperor Trajan's military victory. Our guide shared that Rome was the first city to reach a population of over 1 million people by a wide margin. That kind of density put a huge strain on the city, but it also helped shape cultural habits that still exist today. For example, these small cafes near the main shopping area would charge more if you sat down versus standing, something you'll still see all over Italy today. We continued on past the Pontifical Gregorian University, one of the most prestigious Catholic universities in the world, and made our way to the iconic Trevi Fountain. The fountain originally served a practical purpose of bringing fresh water into public spaces, but these days it's one of the most popular tourist spots in the city. Recently, they've begun charging 2 euros per person to limit crowds in the closest viewing area. We skipped the extra cost, but still managed to find a moment that was almost people-free. Our final stop reiterated why you get a guide. Here we learned about Ignatius of Loyola and the Jesuit mission to spread education and faith around the world, reflected in these incredible ceiling murals depicting Europe, Asia, Africa, and the Americas. The ceiling was painted by Andrea Pozzo and uses perfect perspective to create the illusion of a third story and a soaring dome, because there wasn't money in the budget for a dome at the time. The illusion is so realistic and exactly the kind of detail we never would have known to look for on our own. Finally, our guide gave us a little preview from behind the Pantheon, which we'll visit later. He explained how incredibly advanced the construction was for the time, with a perfect sphere resting on top of a perfect cube, a design that helps make it one of the most stable and enduring structures ever built. The next morning, we took the metro back into the city for our tour of the Colosseum, the iconic ancient amphitheater built nearly 2,000 years ago, where tens of thousands gathered for gladiator battles and public spectacles. But first, we made our way through the Roman Forum, the heart of ancient Rome's political and social life. Here we saw the Mamertine prison, one of the city's oldest prisons, along with the first of many incredible triumphal arches that mark victories and milestones throughout Roman history. We continued walking through the Roman Forum, and you really get a sense that you're moving through an ancient city center with ruins stretching out in every direction. We made our way to the site where Julius Caesar was cremated, a surprisingly simple spot marked by a small altar where people still leave flowers today. Nearby, the 3 standing columns of the Temple of Castor and Pollux rise up dramatically, one of those instantly recognizable views that brings the scale of the ancient Forum into focus. From there, we climbed up Palatine Hill. From the top, you get incredible views looking out over the Basilica of Maxentius and across to the Colosseum. The Colosseum was essentially free public entertainment for Roman citizens, a way to keep the population distracted and politically content through massive state-sponsored spectacles. Our first stop was the simple wooden cross inside, marking the site where many early Christian martyrs are believed to have died during the arena's brutal spectacles. We walked through the corridors of the Colosseum, where you can still see some of the remaining details, like sections of seating engraved with senators' names marking where Rome's elites once sat, along with fragments like original statue heads that once decorated the exterior. There's also a model showing what the Colosseum would have looked like when fully intact. Finally, we walked through one of the archways into that classic sweeping view of the interior of the Colosseum. The arena floor is mostly gone, revealing the underground staging area, though a small reconstructed section shows part of the original system, including a trap door that used to dramatically raise fighters and animals up to the stage above. As we made our way out, we were lucky enough to pass through what's often referred to as the Victor's Exit, stepping back out through the same monumental arches that once marked the end of the arena's greatest spectacles. Afterwards, we were ready for some food and stumbled onto a super popular local spot where you pick from trays of ready-made pizzas. They cut exactly what you want with scissors, warm it up, and you pay by weight. It's simple, fast, and a great way to try a bunch of different flavors without committing to just one. We ended up sampling a few different types and walked away very happy, all for about $15. We headed out for the evening and made a quick stop at the Spanish Steps, the famous sweeping staircase named for the nearby Spanish embassy. It was beautiful but packed, to the point where the steps themselves were almost hidden under the crowd. So we moved on to Piazza della Repubblica, a large, elegant, roundabout-style square with a grand fountain at its center and sweeping colonnades framing the space. We stopped into the nearby Basilica of Santa Maria to take in the stunning interior. Designed by Michelangelo using parts of the ancient baths of Diocletian, it's vast and atmospheric, with soaring ceilings, striking sculptures, and impressive works of art. We made our way through the idyllic streets of Rome, weaving between warm evening light, fountains, and little side squares that felt like they belonged in a movie. And of course, we had to stop for gelato because, when in Rome. The evening's main event was a 3 tenors concert at St. Paul's Within the Walls. The church itself is stunning, with rich mosaics and dramatic architecture that feels like a performance space even before the music begins. It was the perfect setting for the incredibly talented tenors, accompanied by a small ensemble of instruments and a graceful ballerina. researching the church, we were fascinated to learn that the mosaic artist incorporated the faces of several well-known figures from American history into the design, including Ulysses S. Grant and Abraham Lincoln, as you can see here. Today is April 25th and it is Liberation Day in Italy, which is the day that they were liberated from the Nazi fascist regime. So it's a pretty big deal here.
Yeah, very busy. Affected all the transportation.
They had
buses,
parades and speeches this morning. A lot of things are closed. A lot of the smaller businesses are closed and a lot of people are out celebrating, enjoying the day with their families.
Yeah,
so,
very nice, pleasant atmosphere.
Beautiful,
Great.
Yeah, beautiful day, fun, everybody's out enjoying. And so we just decided to walk along in one of the neighborhoods close by, just meander, have a nice relaxing day, kind of see where everything takes us. And we're in the Traverse neighborhood, which is about a 15-minute bus ride from us.
It's supposed to be a really nice neighborhood, and it's living up to its reputation so far. It's very nice. So we got to hit a few cafes and check out the food and drink scene a little bit.
Always.
Yeah.
We headed to the main piazza before stepping into the beautiful Basilica of Santa Maria in Trastevere. Inside is absolutely stunning, best known for its shimmering gold mosaics. The warm light and rich colors give the whole space a glowing, timeless feel, especially compared to the bustling streets outside. We wound our way through the beautiful vine-covered streets, stumbling upon beautifully colored buildings and unique architecture at every turn. There was no shortage of places to eat, just a shortage of tables. Everything was buzzing and most spots had a line of people. We eventually settled onto a lovely little patio where, let's just say, the food wasn't the star of the show, but the atmosphere more than made up for it. We got up early and caught the bus, heading past the iconic Pyramid of Cestius on our way to St. Peter's Basilica. We had skipped it after our Vatican tour because even though entry is free, the security lines are notoriously long. But this time we arrived before opening at 7 a.m. and sailed through security with barely any wait. At the entrance, the colorful Swiss guards stood watch, instantly recognizable in their striking Renaissance-style uniform. Looking back across the vast courtyard of St. Peter's Square, you can picture the space filled with thousands gathered for Sunday Mass, and above it all is the famous balcony where the Pope appears to give blessings and wave to the crowd. Walking into St. Peter's Basilica, the first thing that hits you is just how massive it is. It's one of the largest churches in the world, stretching over 700 feet long, with a dome that rises over 400 feet high, designed in part by Michelangelo himself. Every detail feels larger than life. Towering ceilings, monumental sculptures, and artwork that seems to go on forever. One of the most famous pieces inside is the bronze statue of St. Peter, considered the first pope of the Catholic Church. He's often depicted as a very human, relatable figure, and over the centuries, visitors have worn down his foot from touching it for good luck. The glowing dove stained glass window above the altar is another standout, symbolizing the Holy Spirit, and nearby, a massive stone plaque lists the long line of popes who have led the church throughout the centuries. Interestingly, many of the paintings you see are not paintings at all, but incredibly detailed mosaics, created to preserve the artwork over time while the original works are kept in the Vatican museums. And then there's the Pieta, one of the most famous pieces in the Basilica. Michelangelo created it at just 24 years old, and it's actually the only work he ever signed, carving his name across the sash of the Virgin Mary. We left the Basilica and made our way through Piazza Navona, stopping to see the Fountain of Neptune. From there, we continued on to the Pantheon, one of the most remarkable buildings in the city. It's famous for its innovative design and incredible longevity, still standing nearly 2,000 years later. You can actually see the hidden engineering at work, with the internal arches built into the walls to help support the massive dome above. The walls are about 20 feet thick, helping to distribute all that weight. The Romans were relatively tolerant of different religions, which is why the Pantheon was dedicated to all gods, with Pan meaning all and Theos meaning gods. Your eye is immediately drawn up to the oculus, the large open circle at the top of the dome. It's the building's only source of natural light and also helps reduce the weight of the dome. The Pantheon is also the final resting place for several notable figures, including the Renaissance artist Raphael, whose tomb lies inside. Afterwards, we stopped into a couple nearby churches. First was Basilica of Santa Maria sopra Minerva, where that deep blue starry ceiling really stands out. Such a unique look compared to many other churches in Rome. Next, we made our way to Church of San Luigi de' Francesi. Among the many beautiful works here, you can see 3 incredible paintings by Caravaggio, completely free to view. He's famous for his dramatic use of light and shadow, and as you can see here, seeing these masterpieces up close is pretty unforgettable. We made our way to Cafeteria del Chiostro, a tucked-away cafe that feels more like an art installation than a coffee shop. The courtyard is lined with vibrant rainbow-colored stairs, and there's a striking interior room filled with bold color and light that makes the whole place feel unexpectedly playful and modern. We grabbed a cappuccino and found a spot on the peaceful patio and just took a moment to recharge, surrounded by architecture that feels like part of the experience. We wandered our way through town with interesting architecture at every turn, heading towards Villa Borghese, a huge public park right in the heart of the city. It's one of Rome's largest green spaces, filled with shaded paths, fountains, and sweeping viewpoints that feel far removed from the busy streets just outside. The famous Galleria Borghese is also inside the grounds, which is home to masterpieces by artists like Bernini and Caravaggio. But with tickets running a little bit steep, we decided to skip the museum this time and just enjoy the park itself. It was the perfect, slower-paced break, just wandering, relaxing, and taking in the gardens for free. We worked up an appetite and headed to Al Antico Vinaio. The line wraps around the corner, but they've clearly got it down to a system and it moves surprisingly fast. No tables, just happy people standing around outside devouring massive paninis. We shared a focaccia sandwich stuffed with prosciutto, arugula, and truffle cream. At about $9, it was one of our most affordable and easily one of our most delicious meals yet. And we couldn't leave Rome without one last gelato. We followed a guide's recommendation and stopped at Gelato della Palma, famous for its absolutely massive selection of flavors. They really do boast around 150 flavors, and the display is as fun as it is overwhelming, with everything from classic stracciatella to some wildly creative combinations you wouldn't expect. It was the perfect sweet ending to our time in Rome.